Good morning.
First of all, I thought I'd say happy belated Easter.
Thank you.
I know that's not politically correct, but I'm doing it anyway.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Carrots, that'll be healthy for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. I need to be shopping. I like to come this time of year after we had our annual meeting, which was a couple of weeks ago, and appreciate Bill coming and representing you. But if you have a copy of the booklet that you should have received in the mail, this was what we handed out at the annual meeting, and we like to highlight just some of the programs that we've done throughout the year. Our program each year focuses on one of our program areas, and so this year we focused on agriculture, and we focused on the small farms in Whitley County. That's really the growing segment of Whitley County. And when we talked about small farms, the speaker, there's not just one definition of small farms. When we set up the program, our thought was those farms under 250 acres. And that is one definition, but small farms can also be 10 acres. Small farms can also be based upon gross income. So anyway, so we kind of took that generic term, small farms, and that's what our focus was for the program that evening. It was really, really interesting. And if you look in the middle of the brochure, you'll see some of the statistics of Whitley County for some of those small farms that we have. And the largest number of small farms are those 10 to 49 acres. And a lot of those are people that, they've bought a hobby farm. They've moved from town out to the country. And a lot of those people are the ones that call us and say, okay, I want some chickens. I want a couple of goats. I want to grow some vegetables. What do I do with it? And so we have kind of decided, at least in the ag part of our program, that's where we're going to focus a lot of our efforts are in those small farms. There are also some small farms that, we're not sure where they are, but like we have 12 alpaca farms. We know of about 3 or 4, but at least according to the U.S. Census, we've got 12 alpaca farms in Whitley County. And those may be people with 2 or 3 alpacas.
I see you got 2 maple syrup farms. I know there's more than that.
Okay. And these are what people reported off of the census. Right. Yeah. So anyway, so we thought some of those statistics were kind of interesting. But if you turn over to the first page, I'll just kind of briefly share with you some of the programs that we did this year that we felt were successful. Probably about a year ago, I worked with a couple of the county offices here. At the time, they called me and said, "Can you help us out?" I said, "Sure." They were having some difficulty with communications within their offices. So I worked with one of my colleagues from LaGrange County, and we did a workshop. We did a morning workshop and an afternoon workshop. Brought the 2 offices in, and we did a lot of different exercises just to try to get them to kind of think outside the box a little bit, and it all focused around communication. And we did an evaluation with that, and they all said that it was very valuable. They were going to make some improvements, do some things differently in their offices. The Master Gardeners is one of my favorite programs. It's such a wonderful, wonderful group of volunteers to work with. Master Gardeners all focus around horticulture, their love of gardening. I do a class about every 3 or 4 years. It's a lot of time commitment, and so I feel like I really need about 20 people in a class to make it really worthwhile financially as well as time. And we did a class last fall, and they participate in 48 hours of education. They come in for a 3-hour class. We do that for 16 weeks. After they take their class, they must pass the test, and then they have to give 35 volunteer hours back to the community. And once they've done all that, then they become a Master Gardener. After they have reached that status, then they have to give 12 hours of volunteer work and do 6 hours of educational workshops, or take an additional 6 hours of continuing education every year in order to maintain their Master Gardener status. And in the fall, every year, I collect their hours and the number of educational contacts that they've made. And as you've seen, in 2012, we had 38 Master Gardeners that did report, and they had volunteered almost 3,000 hours and had almost 5,000 educational contacts. And I am so proud of that group. We do have 3 Master Gardeners that do a tremendous amount of work, and they're not interested in keeping track of their hours. You know, that's just not part of what they want to do. So, you know, those hours probably are increased a little bit. And obviously I can't make them report their hours, and if they choose not to, then, you know, that's okay too. It's not really that number that's important, it's the fact that they're giving back to the community. Dining with Diabetes is a program that we do once or twice a year. It's working with people who are diabetic or for their caretakers. I partner with Aging and in-home aging and in-home services. They usually provide some funds for seniors to take the class. And then I partner with Parkview Whitley to help teach the class. And it's a wonderful partnership because Parkview Whitley provides the individual counseling for the patients, and then we teach them how to cook. And the whole idea is you don't have to go out and buy a bunch of new food, different food, new cookbooks. We teach them how to tweak what they have already done, how to use some different types of ingredients. You know, instead of using a cup of sugar in your cookie recipe, cut it down to 3/4 of a cup, and that's okay. So it's an 8-hour class. We always get high reviews from Dining with Diabetes. Travel Indiana was a program that I developed a little over a year ago, and it was really a fun program, but it focused around traveling on a budget. And when the economy went sour, people quit going on vacation. They didn't have the disposable income. And research shows that you need some kind of a break. Maybe you can't afford the week in Florida or the week in California, but you can take a day or 2 days and just do something fun with the family. So that was the whole focus of this, was to get away, spend time with the family, spend quality time with the family, and not have to spend a bunch of money to do it. We called it do a staycation, and we stressed, take a vacation in Indiana. We have a wonderful, wonderful state. There's a whole lot to do. So take some time, take a little bit of money, stay in Indiana, get away with the family. The Whitley County Youth Leadership Program is a program that is now in its 4th year. We got our start with the Community Foundation, and it's a program that targets sophomores with leadership potential. So these are kids that are not the shining stars in their schools, but the administrators see that they have that potential. So we bring them in once a month during the school year, do a lot of leadership activities with them. And then we do a survey immediately following their class, and then we also do a survey in their senior year to see what they have done. And it's really neat to see how those kids have grown. And obviously we want them to then, you know, return to the community and participate. Extension Homemakers is one of our largest and oldest support groups. It's a group of women, almost 200 women that are in 13 clubs throughout the county. Their whole mission is education. Most of them meet on a monthly basis. They focus on educating themselves as well as giving back to the community through a lot of community service projects as well as a lot of scholarship dollars. We continue with our ag producer programs. We work a lot with the educators in other counties, coming in using their expertise to do some workshops, as well as using our facilities out at NEPAC to do some of our programs. Our pest management programs, our diagnostic programs are always very popular, well used, so those programs continue. And we have also just started an Ag Advisory Board. That was a recommendation that came about a year ago, since in the Ag program we're focusing less on the large farms and beginning to focus more on the smaller farms. It was suggested that we come up with an Ag Advisory Group, and so Dave has done that. He has met with that group one time, and they're going to help him focus on what programs are needed for some of those small farmers. So we hope that that group will meet 2, if not 3 times every year. So just kind of in a nutshell, those are the programs that we highlighted this past year at our annual meeting. So, any questions on any of those? No? I also, in your packet, included what I called a Purdue Extension Whitley County 2003 update. As of budget year 2010 was when we were downsized from 3 educators to 2 educators. And Dave and I have tried really, really hard to maintain the program, but just, it's impossible for 2 people to do the job of 3 people. So we have worked really hard with the Extension Board to try to realign some of our programs, try to look at the programs that we've done in the past, set some priorities, what are the ones that are most needed, the ones that we need to focus on more. And so for 2013, I kind of put this together to help to explain to groups like you as well as some of our clientele, because people are beginning to realize that we have reduced some of our programs. We have eliminated some of the programs that we used to do. And people are beginning to say, so why don't we have photography workshops anymore? Why aren't we doing those ag workshops anymore? Why aren't you coming to all of our monthly meetings? And we simply said we're trying to realign the program and make it better reflective upon the funding that we have. So that's why I put together this document, to just kind of help explain that. And then under each of the program areas, the Ag, Economic Development, Health and Human Sciences, as well as 4-H and Youth, I obviously didn't list everything that we've done, but I listed those programs that either the really important ones that we will continue, some of the programs that we have reduced, and reduced probably means we're not doing as many. And then there are several things that we just have eliminated. We are no longer participating in some of those programs and activities. And that doesn't mean that they're not important, but that just means as we've worked with the Extension Board and they helped us to decide our priorities, those were some things that kind of fell to the bottom of the list. So, any questions on that? And okay, the last thing I thought I'd share with you, hopefully all of you get a copy of our newsletter. Last year, July, the commissioners provided us with a different copier. So we are now able to do our newsletter in-house, which we really, really, really like being able to do that. We're still tweaking it a little bit. It's not quite there yet. None of us were really publishers or editors at the time that we took this over, but it has saved us a tremendous amount of time, just because we don't have that extra week that we have to work ahead with a publisher. And it has really helped us with the mistakes. So we know when there are mistakes in there now, they are our mistakes and not the mistakes because of the editor.
So is printing that in the house, how's that doing financially? Is that saved anything?
It's saving a little bit, but not a tremendous amount. Yeah. And when the first one we did in January, we did the big paper, the 8.5 by 14 paper, and then we folded it over. Well, we figured out right away that people didn't like that, and financially, that didn't make sense. Yeah, so it made much more sense to just go back to the 8.5 by 11 and then just staple it. So, and the only difference is then when we mail it, we have to put 3 little tabs on it instead of 2. But you know, that's no big deal.
How many of those do you mail then?
We mail about 1,500 a month, and we email about 300.
And how many pages is it?
16, 16 front and back. Yep. And we do this 9 times a year. So this is our main form of communication with our clientele. So, and kind of based upon the time of year, when we get May, June, and July, it's heavy focus on 4-H because that's our busy time, and then the rest of the year, it's more focused on health and human sciences and agriculture. So, and yesterday was our 4-H deadline at 4:30, so I'm kind of afraid to walk in this morning because we're hoping there weren't any late enrollment forms in the mailbox. But, okay, questions?
Anything else
Great.
for Sydney? Well, we got a captive. Got her captive.
Well, thank you for your support. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,